for them. New day, it's a beautiful day. Thank God for life every day. New day, it's a beautiful day.
Hello everyone, welcome to Caribbean Innovation Ventures. My name is Sonja Salsa and I'm the founder. Today it is my pleasure to be speaking with Shannon Clarke, one of the founders of Medi Review. Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's actually my pleasure. I've actually seen a little bit of your work from before, so I'm actually a bit humbled to be invited to this channel. So nice to meet you, Sandra.
So tell us about Medi Review. What problem are you trying to solve?
Okay, Medi Review is actually a mobile health platform that helps patients living with chronic conditions to manage their condition by actually following through with doctors' instructions in between clinical visits. What we're really tackling is the issue of having patients actually follow through with their doctor's actions towards making a lifestyle change. The issue that happens, especially with persons living with diabetes, is that they're facing all the psychological problems, the psychological onset of finding out they have diabetes and trying to figure out, okay, what do I actually do? How do I actually figure out, how do I use the blood pressure monitors? How do I use my blood glucose? What does that mean? How do I actually change my diet? And there's a lot of education that has to happen that the doctor really doesn't have time to do within the 30 to 45 minutes that you're actually meeting the doctor, And we're actually bridging that gap where when the patient leaves the doctor, they can actually learn more about their condition and also follow through the doctor's instructions. The simple reminders, daily reminders. So it's really the issue of diabetes and hypertension within the Caribbean. Over 78% of all deaths within the Caribbean are actually linked to complications from chronic conditions. And not enough people realize this. There are lots of medical software out there, but they're more focused on clinical administration than actually combating this ongoing problem.
Wow, I didn't know that, so I just learned something. So what actually prompted you to start this? Why did you feel that this was important?
Well, unfortunately, it was actually a bit of personal experience. This is actually from all the members within the team. Barbados is a small community, and we've actually been designated as having some of the fattest ladies in the world. I don't know how true that is,
really?
But I think there was some study done for that. But what that has actually led to is there actually have high prevalence of obesity within our society. And as a result of that, we actually have a high prevalence of NCDs, the same diabetes and hypertension we spoke about. So I've actually lost some of my, one of my grandmothers to complications from hypertension, as well as my co-founders. They've also experienced this. In fact, Labran Sobers, the iPhone developer, our technical lead, he actually battles a daily struggle with his father, who is, let's just say his father is a very strong-willed person, to get him to actually take the medication, take the right medication at the right time. So we really wanted to find a solution to that problem. One of my own personal inspirations, not only from loss of my grandmother, but it was also due to my sister, who's a doctor. She often complains that there's no way of actually finding out are patients actually following through with their medication, So we wanted to actually find a way, okay, how do we actually build that? How do we allow doctors to track patient complaints in between visits, And we've started out with a dosage tracker. We eventually went now into tracking diet, exercise, and also tracking vitals. And this is all from patient and doctor feedback.
So you mentioned that your sister is a doctor, and she was telling you that there's no way to track whether patients are taking their medication, etc. What other research did you do, and how many people did you speak to make sure that this is a viable, people really would be using this?
Well, you see, Sandra, that's actually what we focused on from the very beginning. So, like I said, we started out with a prototype for a medication dosage tracker, and that was the first version of Medi Review. We thought we were so smart, but then we actually went to talk with doctors. We were actually doing some research with the UE Cave Hill School of Business, going through a business development course with them. And they actually encouraged us to speak to at least 10 to 15 stakeholders per week. That was a bit of a challenge. And that's how over the 8 weeks of it, we actually got up to over 120, but I'll just say over 100 doctors and patients that we spoke to. And what we found out was very scary stuff, honestly. Now, NCDs, non-communicable chronic diseases, they're actually number one silent killer throughout the entire world. And it's only coming on as public knowledge now within the last 2 years. But since 2007 within the Caribbean, this is identified as a serious issue. There was actually a heads of government meeting. All the prime ministers within the Caribbean sat down together and said, we have to deal with this issue. This is in 2007. However, there was a report in 2010, which culminated in 2011, which proves that there wasn't that much progress. And to this day, there isn't that much progress being done. That's not to say that doctors aren't doing their job, but in terms of statistics, there isn't any proof to show that, yes, we're actually getting this problem under control. What reports have shown, this is basically researchers that have come either from out within the region, internationally, or even locally, that the typical compliance rate for our patients, to actually follow through with the doctor's instructions and keep their blood sugar under control is less than 30%. That's less than 30% of a population where over half of everybody, of the persons being admitted to the hospital, are diagnosed as diabetic or hypertensive.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It is.
And the expenses linked to taking care of those patients within Barbados at least actually accumulate to over half. Sorry, I don't want to get it wrong, but approximately 10% of the healthcare budget, the national healthcare budget. That's just for diabetes and hypertension.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about your background, because obviously there are many people with ideas, but you and your co-founders were able to create an app. I mean, tell us about what led you, what is your educational background, your professional, that led you to be able to create these things?
Certainly.
Media review.
Well, in every single way you can look at it, I'm a certified geek, really and truly. I actually went to secondary school at Hudson College, and from there I graduated from University of West Indies, electrical and computer engineering. This is in 2007. I actually spent the last 7 years within the utility, construction, and contracting industries as an electrical engineer. While on the side, I was doing a lot of computer programming. Computer programming is actually a childhood hobby of mine, starting first with website development, making simple games for myself and my friends to play. So that's why I eventually got into apps. And what really led me to do that was I was getting increasingly frustrated with the limited resources that we actually have to do some of the things that I did at university, building circuits, getting into my love of robotics. That's just expensive stuff to actually import those materials from US and then actually have them here, go through customs and import duties. That was just way too much for me. Unfortunately, we don't even have something like a Radio Shack within the Caribbean, and what we do have is we have some electronic stores for like car audio systems, etc. But that's not the same thing. It's a total different set of components for that. So I focus on software because, well, the iPhone came out. The iPhone came out in 2007, and I captured everybody's attention. Nobody thought it was going to work, but then immediately I was seeing how game-changing this could be. So I really wanted to know what could I actually do. Seeing my friends in computer science, they weren't actually building apps. They were just building websites, etc. Some of them were, but a lot of them were actually leaving Barbados to actually focus on that. So I started to think of what could I do? And that's what really took me eventually to building Clever Grocer, which was actually a crowdsourced grocery price comparison tool. I just really and truly wanted grocery shopping to be a lot easier because I thought it'd be so difficult. Well, I'm a guy, so I don't really like shopping.
Mm.
So I really wanted to have an easier time when I'm going through the supermarket. And that the interest I gained from that, I actually won some prizes for that. It just kept encouraging me to do more. And that's why with Meta Review, no, it's not just scratching the itch, it's actually trying to solve a problem.
Amazing. Okay, I may have to talk to you about a couple more ideas I have. So back to Meta Review. What are some of the challenges that you and your co-founders have faced as entrepreneurs?
Well, I would actually say the biggest problem that we face, or the biggest challenge we face, is actually getting out of our own way. Now, the thing is, as an engineer or as anybody technical, you have a predefined notion of how things work. You know, you basically figure, okay, I've looked at this problem, this doesn't work. I'm going to build something that's better. And when I give it to people, they're going to obviously see it the way that I see it, you know. But being able to sell the vision and selling the value of a product is totally different. And it really means that you have to give up some things which society kind of tells you that you need to hold on to. You need to give up your pride. You need to give up the notion that you're always going to be right. And you need to be a lot more willing to be open and just willing to collaborate and learn from everybody. Now, fortunately, I would actually say that I had a bit of an advantage to some others in terms of my experience on the construction site. On the construction site, you learn that everybody knows more than you, especially when you're there at the very beginning. You know, all the tradesmen, it doesn't matter who has a college degree or whatnot, it's all about who can get things done. And you're not going to get that building up if you don't work with those guys, you know, or if you don't realize that your job is actually to help them get their job done. So that really and truly says that it was really important for us to realize that we are, yes, on a worthwhile mission, a very valuable project that we're working on. Yes, we've won regional contests, won national contests, but when you're actually trying to get mentors and you're trying to get investors and you're trying to actually get doctors' attention, you have to go from the perspective of, hey, I'm working on this project, I'm doing some research, I'd like to learn from you. You can't go with the perspective of, okay, I'm trying to sell this to somebody, because then you get a lot of anxiety just to trying to make just that first step, because then you're starting to think about, okay, am I good enough? Can I actually do this? If they say no, I'm an idiot. Am I stupid? You know, am I doing the wrong thing? But if you just let go of all of that and you just focus on the mission and what you're really trying to achieve, it really changes your whole perspective. So something that I did, which a lot of friends told me I was a little bit crazy, is that, well, okay, in order to meet our targets for the same course at the university, Carefield School of Business, I just went into town and just started to talk to people. You know, I went with a survey form. You know, I looked very normal, and I actually told people, okay, you know what, we're trying to actually build a solution to change how doctors communicate their information to their patients, and so that patients like you, if you have a chronic disease, will be better informed. You know, you can actually follow through with daily reminders. And some people thought that I was trying to sell drugs or or that or that I was begging and whatnot. But it was a very interesting experience for me, because I did it like 3 times. And I'll be happy to do it again, because it allowed me to get on the ground perspectives. And this wasn't just from doctors in their offices, but this is actually the general person. The people, I could hear directly from them why they would use the app, why they wouldn't, and what they prefer instead of an app. You know, the thing is that apps are very attractive, you know, they're very interesting to use and very visual, etc. But do they work? You know, are they the best thing to do? And we've only stuck with the app because from speaking to people, they told us that yes, they would use it. But there are other methods that we could utilize, but definitely the app is one of the most valuable methods. So again, it's really about getting past yourself and realizing that you have a lot to learn. Just like how when you leave primary school and you're the smartest in school and you're going into secondary school, well, you know, okay, you have to work your way back up. And when you start a new job, yes, you're definitely cream the crop, but you know, you have to work your way up. Outside of that, it's really been learning more about team dynamics and how to build a team, not just how to start as friends and working into a business, but also how to build a team. And I think that's something that it comes from having a supportive environment. Definitely what which you will have more of within mature places like Silicon Valley, United States, and developed nations, versus within Caribbean where things are a bit more niche and a bit more focused on cliques. But as you build up relationships, you'll definitely get there.
Wonderful.
So a lot of the ways that we've actually overcome it is by applying that attitude, then to actually say, okay, you know what? We're going to actually try to find those people who know a lot better than us. And then we're actually going to share with them our challenges. We're going to tell them when things are going wrong, even when we're really embarrassed by it, when we really don't want to admit that things are going wrong and I don't know what to do. We're just going to sit there, and it's been amazing how a lot of those people would actually come back to us and tell us, okay, you know what, relax. It's okay, you know, it's going to take time. These things take time, which is actually like a popular phrase among startup founders. And eventually, before you know it, within 2 weeks after wondering what you're doing, then a big bunch of encouragement just comes your way. For instance, when the ministry said that, yes, they'd endorse our project, but actually use Affinity Polyclinics, which is amazing.
Wow. That's great. That's good. So what advice would you give other Caribbean entrepreneurs, someone like yourself, you know, that thinking about going into entrepreneurship? What advice would you give to them?
Well, 2 pieces of advice. Build a network, and build your network based on relationships. See everyone, whether they're rich or poor, as people and not as pockets of money or what they can do for you. But think of everybody as someone that you're building a relationship with. You're not going to build a relationship with someone on day 1 or even day 3. But from the investor down to someone, a potential employee, build relationships with everyone and make sure that you provide value to them, so that as much as you want to get something from them, make sure you're giving them what they want to, because these things go wrong, you know. The other thing that I would also say is always be willing to learn, always be willing to reassess yourself as much as you're willing to reassess someone else. So look at yourself and think of, okay, this is my mission and this is what I want to do. But am I really interested in being CEO forever? You know, maybe I want to maybe I want to have a family. So maybe I can do this for 5 years, running it and getting it up to the scalable stage, where then I can hire a CEO who then come in and maybe I'll go on the board seat. Or maybe I'm not the type of person that really wants to run a startup per se, in terms of the North American definition, where, you know, you're aiming for moonshots, you're aiming for $1 billion exit. That means that you have to be constantly aiming for constant growth. You know, you have to be growing at least 10, maybe even 15% each week. And that's going to be a huge workload. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I actually just want a business that's going to grow at a Caribbean scale, which means then that maybe, so, and if I decide on that, that would change the type of investment that I'll be seeking. So I think a lot of people, and at the time, myself included, would see the blog, see TechCrunch, etc., which are definitely well-meaning, and assume that, okay, I should look to these investors. But these investors are looking for certain types of businesses, and maybe that's not where you are now. Maybe you can start off within the first 2 years, depending on your personality, just focusing on Caribbean scale. And then when you're there, when you have those systems built in, then you can go to international scale, you know, where you're actually able to grow at 10, 15%. So learn to walk before you stray running.
Awesome. Thank you. Great advice. So how do you stay balanced?
I have a big issue with staying balanced, honestly speaking. As everybody in my family will tell you, I often wake up, go on the computer, eating on the computer, going to sleep, the computer's right next to me. And oftentimes I would actually even forego eating, not bathing. But what I actually think is very important, and it's something that I'm trying to work on, even especially with meta review. So I'm almost using myself as the test case for meta review, where is actually that same behavioral change, to actually, yes, you have the daily reminder there to do the exercise, but what actually triggers you and really helps you to do the exercise and to see it as part of your own lifestyle, So something that I have been doing is actually getting back into running. I have my Fitbit now that helps me to track it, right? And that's excellent. I'm actually very interested in investing in more technology, but technology aside, it's really about making that decision for your own self that this is how you want to live your own life. Outside of that, I love my family. I often see my brother come with his children, and I would be inside still on the computer. But just hearing my niece and my nephew is awesome. So I was at least come outside just to see them. But balance is definitely an issue. I guess I'm still in that young age where I would put 80% of my day towards work and then try to figure out another 20%.
I see. Okay. Yes, being balanced is really important. I'm glad to hear that you're running. I'm a runner too, so that's wonderful. So my final question for you is, what's your favorite Caribbean dish?
Honestly, it's not Barbadian. It isn't. It's actually Trinidadian. Bus-up shot, Dalpuri. I love it. I have a weakness for beef roti, but if you put a bus-up shot in front of me, I'm gonna that's gonna be gone in 2 minutes.
Awesome.
Bacon shark is a close second.
Awesome. Yeah, bacon sharks are really good. And Maracas Beach, oh my gosh.
Maracas Beach itself is good for the environment, but if you want a proper beach, you have to come to Barbados.
Okay. Well, Shannon, I want to thank you very much for speaking with Caribbean Innovation Ventures.
No problem.
Your story, your background is very inspiring. I'll be definitely watching you to see where you're going to be going. So thank you very much.
No problem. You're welcome, and thank you for this opportunity. We have some exciting things coming up in the next 6 months, which I'll be happy to share with you and the community.
Great. Thank you. And to my Caribbean audience, remember to reach for the sky, because if you fall, you're going to fall on coconut trees. But if you reach for coconut trees, you're going to fall on the ground. Thanks. Bye-bye.
That's it.
New day, it's a beautiful day. Thank God for life every day. New day, it's a beautiful day.